Hello, uh, welcome back. This is like the fourth time I've recorded this, so yeah, hopefully this one works out. So this is basically a story on how my party in my Dungeons and Dragons world, the BTTAC, became what they are, and up till 10th level. So then I'll be recording each session, from Sunday onwards, because that's what the sessions are. So let us begin. Let me tell you about the land first. The land is the continent of Sephiro. It's split into two factions with one neutral city. You have the Roderick Empire, who are run by humans and consider any other race other than that to be like third class or very lesser beings. Then you have the Kingdom of Zerfa, that's run by an elven king called King Landor II. And then you have the neutral city, which is Skyspire, and that's run by the Arcanium Council. So, I'm doing this a bit post production, editing. I just need to explain the Arcanium Council in a bit more concise manner rather than what I did. The Arcanium Council is basically a neutral city run by and established around the Arcanium Council. Skyspire is basically home to, as well as the council, the academy where sorcerers from wizards from all around the land would go to study. But when they join the Arcanium Council or academy, they basically lose all affiliation with either or the kingdom or the empire. So if you go there, you're basically renouncing yourself as a member of each society and becoming a member of the council, which later on in the campaign, one of my players, he had the decision whether or not he would join, but I did give him the details that if he were to join, he would have to give up his quest and basically settle down in Skyspire and become a member of the council. But maybe that will clear up a bit more rather than what I did. I was just basically rambling on. So we begin in Whitebridge, which is a small town outside of Skyspire. We started off with 3 members of a party. We go out with Desh, who is a tiefling Pack of the Blade warlock, and we had BBG, whose gender still is a mystery to the whole party till this day, but we do not know what gender they were. BBG is a halfling monk who smokes a lot of halfling weed. Then we have Rothholm, who is a dwarven fighter. Each character, we have Desh is played by Michael, BBG was played by Alistair, and Rothholm is played by Sean. So our story begins where Desh and the party kind of met each other in the tavern, the Slouching Troll, in Whitebridge, and this was done by them asking the barkeep, who was Winslow Wildflower, personal favourite of the group in the campaign. They asked about if there was any jobs in Whitebridge. They found 2 jobs in particular about creatures being spotted around a cave and a camp of goblins to the north of the forest, not north of Whitebridge, into the forest. So they basically found each other by asking for jobs, and they kind of established the group early on, and went to the cave to see what creatures are hidden within it at the time. They found it to be filled with kobolds, and after quickly vanquishing each kobold, they discovered some weird construction of flesh of kobolds melded together into that of a gateway. So before anything could happen or any ritual could be complete, they destroyed the flesh melded gate and went back to Winslow to find out whether they can get a reward. But Winslow stated that it was basically the reward would be given by the guards of the town to which they met Garrett. Garrett is a good friend of the group, and they helped each other throughout the whole early levels, which would be like 1 to 3. After defeating the kobolds, they then went to Garrett and got the reward. Garrett then introduced him to 2 different people. They introduced him to the 4th member of the party, Arthur, a human rogue from the Empire whose family was a high they were at a high level. They were lords of a land. They were betrayed and sent away. So after and the mysterious character that they didn't know anything about that. So after a while, like going into nighttime, they then established an attack on the camp, to which they killed the goblins, and then the leader of the goblins, which was a bugbear at the time, and then miraculously a portal appeared. The portal brought them to a room in some sort of cave system that had a plaque in the far corner of the room that was celestial writing. So they took a rubbing of the celestial writing, and they basically triggered a trap that caused the gelatinous cube to fall from the ceiling. The gelatinous cube basically was a tough battle for them, considering they were already low from the battle with the goblins and the bugbear. But Baby G died, but was brought back by the mysterious character that was the hooded figure, which was a close ally of the party to this date, Matthias, one of the mages from the Arcanium Council. Upon bringing Baby G back, Matthias said for the group to go to Sky Spire to establish contact with the Arcanium Council and find any reason behind these portals and what's happening with the whole energy of the land, as it's thrown into a chaotic state with a lot of creatures coming from certain areas. Upon traveling into the Slurshing Troll one last time before they headed off, they were talking to Winslow, who told them about an area along the way to Sky Spire that apparently a lot of adventurers go to try and see if they can claim the rewards from it. It's like a lair. Upon going past, they found a road that led into the lair, and they found it out to be an owlbear lair. Upon killing the owlbear, they found a baby owlbear, which was quickly adopted by Rothholm and named it Baby Thanos. So then they set back off to Sky Spire again, and before they got to Sky Spire, they were getting chased by a large shadow in the sky, which happened to be one of the earliest occurrences of one of the big bads, but not the big bad evil person, but it was Nadar, an adult green dragon that basically was threatening to kill him, but they were saved by a bronze dragon by the name of Falcor. After having this brief encounter with Nadar and Falcor, they then entered Sky Spire, which they were stopped by a goblin by the name of Clegg, who required that they meet their master. The master of Clegg turned out to be Matthias, who introduced the party to the Arcanium Council by bringing them into one of the grand halls of the 8 heads of the spire. The 8 heads of the spire, like the magical lords, the magical heads of schools within the Arcanium Council, as well as Academy. So they had members such as the Archlord Ralph Kernoy of the Conjuration School. He was like a human in his 70s and the head of the 8 spires. Then you had the Lord of Abjuration, Abraham Malfier. He was a human in his 50s. And then you had the the member that they met, Matthias Stormwind, the Lord of Evocation. He was in his 20s. He was a very early and gifted student. Then we have the Lord of Divination, Ahir Hafjeh, an Urgenasi in his late 30s. And then we have the Lord of Transmutation, Eliatis Storic, a female high elf, which her age is kind of unknown, and the Lord of Enchantment, Cora Arnwith. She was a dwarf female whose age was like unknown at the time. Then we had they had two members of the Arcanium Council that was at the time was missing. That was the Lord of Illusion and the Lord of Necromancy, who they did not meet. Upon talking with Matthias says about them to keep in contact with the Arcanium Council in regards to a potential dangerous necromancer is about trying to bring back a great dangerous creature known as the Great One, who they found out to be the All-Seer. Upon leaving the Arcanium Council, they ran into a bunch of kids, which Rothholm gave away a bit of his gold to them. And the next day, after staying in Rotholm's cousin's inn, Barnaby at Winslow, who's lacking in the brain, but they stayed at the Red Lion Inn. And the next morning, some of the kids that they saw the day previous came up to them and said about how some of them been taken in the night by some sort of witch. That day they set out to try and find this witch. Upon talking to the guard says if they bring, they'll reward them for the death of whoever stole the kids and give money as back if they can bring back as much kids alive as possible. They then discovered an area outside of the Sky Spire where led them to a little hideout underground that belonged to a green hag. The hag kept kids in cages, and they killed the green hag with very amazing, with disadvantage because the hag went invisible. Daesh killed her with an Eldritch Blast, and it was pretty good because it was unpredictable because he just randomly fired, and it was I give the hag a high AC, as well as the invisibility gave him disadvantage, so he got really lucky and he killed the green hag. And upon leaving the underground hideout, they came across the fifth member of the party, Funteets, a silver dragonborn who is a paladin of the Platinum Dragon, Bahamut. Upon gathering and becoming the fifth, a five-member party, they set out throughout the lands after getting the reward. They went and looked around Sky Spire to see if any people would like missions or quest done or deliveries or material requirements. They went to a blacksmith in Ondor after leaving Sky Spire and going to Ondor, considering that's where Foon kind of was taught and grew up. The blacksmith in Ondor, who was not close but knew of Foon, was Nerdrin, the blacksmith, and he asked them to require a piece of ice used in a piece of ice that could never melt, and it's used in a sort of like enchanted armor. So they could only find that up in the Silver Summit. Upon heading up to the Silver Summit, they went into the Silver Summit, and then into the Silver Summit they found an area called the Ackwinged Valley. And in the Echoing Valley, they found two giants, a fire giant and a frost giant, discussing politics. And they found out that the giants were forming an alliance because of a great power that's been brewing throughout the land. Upon the giants finding out about the party trying to find the ice, the giants started to attack the party, which then they lost BBG, the first party, true party death. After that, Arthur left the group because he didn't really see that the party was going down the same route that he was going, so he left. Which they then were, when they were in Ondor, they found out a sickness was brewing in the forest of Ondor, which they hired a couple of party members, Jenna the Snake, a fire genasi rogue, Lucky the Gnome, a cleric of the Life Domain, and Galvin Buckley, a blue dragon sorcerer. Upon this hiring of these groups, they head into the forest, which they found a dragon, a shadow dragon, whose name was Shadowwing, who was causing the sickness to the local area of the forest. And they killed the dragon and went separate paths from the party, but they would later be reintroduced to Galvin again after a while. After going to Bert, they then went to, from what I can remember, they went back to Skyspire. And this is very hard because it's struggling when all the notes is jumbled up, and haven't did the session a while, that you kind of lose track, but you kind of get the gist of it, what happened. But they went to Skyspire and talked to Matthias, and Matthias mentioned about he mentioned about in Skyspire mentioned about a tower, to which before they left they got encountered with one of Rotholm's older childhood friends, Dozloff, a wood elf ranger. Then they acquired a member of the Arcanium Academy, Hendrix, and headed to a mage tower created by a mage called Dradarian. Once in the tower, they had to go through puzzles and tricks and traps and creatures that they had to fight. Then, upon getting the loot and leaving the tower, they were then ambushed by a group known as the Knights of Requiem. The Knights of Requiem is a knight order that has changed into a mercenary group. They found out that each member of the party had a bounty on their head, and which more gold was awarded to if they kept them alive. So the reason they got ambushed wasn't really an ambush. It was more Foon kind of shouted out to them. He seen them on the road and shouted out. Little did he know that that party was after them. But they fought to the death, with Dozloff and Daesh dying. So both characters that Michael controlled died that fight by some berserker that was basically going absolute AWOL on them. Foon and Rodholm lived, with Hendrix running away by Rodholm's orders, and they got captured and brought to the camp. And upon going to the camp, while they were thrown in jail, they got introduced to a druid known by Angel Woodgrove, who's played by me. He was talking to them about what happened to them and whether they can try and find a way out. So Rodholm decided to duel Mira Braxton one-on-one to help release all the prisoners, and he won, nearly killing Mira, but stopped by the mages and other members of the Knights of Requiem, though Mira did say when she let them all leave, as she is a person of her word, she did say that she'd get her revenge on Rodholm. upon returning to Skyspire, they were introduced to Michael's new character, Oric, a cleric of the god Moradin. He was a forge cleric, and they basically talked to Matthias about what happened and stuff like that. And then they left again to go to Ondor, and upon going to Ondor, they were reintroduced to Galvin and Lucky, and they went to sort of like a temple, and the temple contained the body and burial ground of the big bad of this campaign, Emrith. She was brought back to life by the All-Seer, as well as a couple of the members of the... Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about when Matthias sent them on a quest. Matthias sent them on a quest to retrieve a research group up near Riven Manor, and they basically saved two members, Kiri and Kelt, two elves who were basically lovers, and they brought them back to they were trying to bring them back to the council, but they both Kiri and Kelt basically attacked the group and killed baby Thanos. And on the way back, they found out when they went back to Skyspire. This was before the whole I think this was before the death of BBG, so this was before they went to the Silver Summit. But they were talking to Matthias about the betrayal of some of the Arcanian Academy people, so Kelt and Kiri. And then at that moment, the Archlord of the Skyspire was assassinated by Kiri and Kelt, and they fought Kiri and Kelt and killed both of them. But in doing so, they found out that there is more traitors within the council. Now, let's head on back to when the resurrection of Emrith. Emrith was brought back by the All-Seer, who turned out to be Matthias's twin brother, older twin brother, and Eliasis of the high elf female who was Lord of Transmutation, and Cora Arnwith. They brought back Emrith by using blood from Galvin, as he is a descendant of a blue dragon. He was taken in by a blue dragon. This blue dragon's nature is completely different from a normal blue dragon. But they brought Emrith back, and that's how they learnt of who betrayed the council. And Matthias was there at the time. And upon hearing about this, they went back and disclosed it to Abraham, who became the Archlord, because he was the second in terms of experience and power. And after that, they headed back to Ondor. Then when they were in Ondor, Foon attacked someone and left because he was carrying out deeds that his god wouldn't really agree with. So he went on a journey of self-reflection and left the party, which he introduced his new character, who was Griff, a smoke genasi artificer. And they went to the guild hall, the guild, the Adventures Guild, and they got a couple quests for going up to Honey Chateau and doing a couple of missions here and there. When Honey Chateau, they killed a couple of UNT, and then they came back down. And upon returning, they encountered they've seen the scaly figure that was Nadar traveling up to Drakeport, and then in a race against time, they traveled up to Drakeport. And and I forgot, there's another thing I keep forgetting. It's just so like for a year, and it's hard to like keep track of things when you haven't got it recorded. they got a reward for I think they got a reward for some quest. I don't know which one it was, but they got basically a sentient cart that can talk to them and stuff like that. They called it Cartcoon. They got on Cartcoon in Ondor and travelled up to Drakeport, where Nadar was flying to at the time. And upon arrival Drakeport, they found out not just Nadar was destroying Drakeport, it was actually the Knights of Requiem as well. When they entered Drakeport, they first encountered a couple of the Knights of Requiem troops, and then ended up going through the side streets and basically back alleys to try and avoid as much as possible, and then encountered Mira, which Rotholm swiftly killed, because he's been through a lot in this campaign, witnessed a lot of people die, and it's like kind of like got a survivor's guilt. But ended up getting to a point where they travelled up the tower to meet Nadar, and they killed Nadar. One of the big achievements that are kind of in this sort of thing in this campaign. And after the Nadar fight, they basically talked to Commander Tonic, one of the head generals of the kingdom's army, and got a personal meeting with the king, and they were rewarded for the saving and protection of Drakeport from Nadar. Though it did suffer a lot of casualties and it was partially destroyed, they did get a reward for that and got a home within Ondor to live. And upon that, Ulrich was getting visions of artifact known as the Axe of the Dwarvish Lords, that he's been tasked with trying to find by his god Moradin. And they went to Skyspire again to do research and to try and find what the visions linked to. And he finds out the visions are linked to a secret group known as the Fortunate Exiles. And then Rotholm found out that he has gained sorcery powers from multiclassing, and Angel is seeking for a blade known as the Moonblade that was possessed by the mage who constructed the towers known as Draydarian. So it's kind of all interlinking. I wish I did have more information for you guys, because everything is kind of like a puzzle, and trying to piece every information together. It's basically near impossible to do it, especially over a year, if you're not like my players know what they've been through and kind of like knowing what's going on in the future, but the past is kind of like mixed up, so it's kind of hard for them to understand what's going on and like what happened. So like for me, I have all the information here and all the points, but it's just trying to remember in what sort of way it happened. So yeah, this is my first campaign as well, so hopefully like you'll see the future episodes where I'm doing the actual sessions, and then you'll see how it's going. But like so far we're like at level 10, and like level 1 to 9 was the party gathering and finding out information regarding the All-Seer and the bringing back of Imrith, who's bringing back the destruction, who's trying to bring the destruction of the continent of Sephiroth. But yeah, thank you for listening, and if there's any questions that you have regard to what's going to happen in this, like I know it's a bit of a hassle to try and figure out 1 year of information, but if there's anything that needs a bit more explaining about, I can, like, if you write a comment and I'll like, oh yes, I can just do this, I can just write a comment on what happened, because that makes it a bit more easier for me to get specific information rather than look at the whole story and try to process what happened. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and if you're going to listen to the future episodes, yeah, I'll be posting them usually every I'll have it recorded on Sunday, and then I'll try and find time, because of like it take time to edit everything and put it all into audio. So thank you very much for for stopping by and listening. So, yeah, thank you very much. Bye.